texting somebody, you think, yeah, this person seems pretty good. You don't want to text too long, you know. Sometimes you just want to meet and then, you know, figure some stuff out more, or they'll want to meet you, and, you know. I like to sometimes talk, not meet too fast. Sometimes the other person does. Fair enough. Let's meet. And you're talking, you're figuring out, is this gonna work out? You know, you're both thinking, what are we gonna get from each other? What am I talking about?
You're talking about meeting someone on a dating app and the interaction that leads up to actually meeting, right?
And also freelance work.
And also freelance work.
That's how similar they are. Eventually trying to figure out, is this someone that could do something long term? What really do I want? And yeah, that's what we're going to talk about today. The similarities of freelance work and meeting people for interrelations.
You know what? We talked about this a little bit on the last video. We just kind of mentioned that it's similar. But now that you say that, I love that. Because one of the questions I don't like is, what are we going to be before you even meet? Are we a hookup or friends with benefits? I don't know.
Yeah, you don't know.
And the same thing with a client. Like, is this going to be a 12-month thing or a 1 week? I don't know. It depends on how well you pay me. It depends on how well we communicate. It depends on a lot of different things.
I guess the only difference is when you have, you know, there's like a clear thing where it's like, okay, I have 3 months of work here. I want it done, and it's going to be at this, right? Yep. But if you have someone on a dating app having that same thing, where
but even in that situation, I wouldn't be so quick to jump into a 3-month thing. I would want to get to know them a little bit.
Oh yeah.
I think that'd be kind of stupid if you jumped into something like that without knowing them a little bit.
And that, you know, you have all your portfolio in that.
Yep.
Your pictures and your Instagram.
Your profile. Yep.
And people start to see what's going on. They see, do I know this person? Does any of my friends know this person?
Right.
And mate, it's the same with freelance stuff. Sometimes people check up on your references, you know.
They do.
So, there's one thing that I started to think about, which is like, when you're meeting people, you're mainly doing it because you want to have a good time. It's something that is not part of your work life or your normal stress of life. You're trying to meet, to have a good time, to, you know, to feel younger, to feel like more energized of just doing something, feeling more free. But it doesn't really seem to be like that for a lot of people. It seems to be very serious, and people seem to start freaking out so quickly of like, this person did something that's a red flag. I don't know, I'm going to put some walls up now. Or especially back in Britain, people are putting so many barriers to entry, you know.
Right. Well, at the same time that I said I can't commit to any sort of, I don't know if it's a hookup or a relationship, that's because I'm more open and you're a little bit more open too. But some people aren't. There are some people that say, I want a relationship and that's it. So for them, it actually makes a lot more sense. And it would be the same for freelancing. If I wanted a 12-month contract, I would have to put more walls up and recognize more red flags.
Oh yeah.
So it kind of works hand in hand there too.
Yeah, but sometimes those people never get anyone good.
Yes, that is the downside of narrowing your search parameters. You're gonna have you're gonna have to be more selective, and maybe you're not gonna find what you're looking for.
And also, sometimes the people might destroy someone that could have been good.
Yes, you limit the possibility of people that could have turned into something more.
Yeah.
That's happened to me a lot. Yeah. Where maybe, specifically with girls, maybe I met a girl and there's a lot of potential there, but she wants to rush things too fast, or, you know, I've messed it up too, but.
Yeah, I mean, I've had that where it's like, where someone starts making too many plans. Have you not even really non-verbally discussed it, you know? Not let alone actually talked about it.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't think you understand how I feel right now. I don't want this. Or one of the worst parts is when someone is offering something that is not that great in terms of monetary gain, but they'll promise stuff for the future, you know?
Right.
Ah man, that is that drives me insane. Because what about if they are telling the truth and they are having something that is investable? I can't trust it now because of all the other stuff.
I would totally avoid any situation like that personally.
Yeah.
I've had some clients say, write my book. I can't pay you much, but you'll get 10% of the royalties. It's like, dude,
Yeah.
no.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, I would totally, and that would be the same as like, let's say you meet a girl and she's like, well, I'm a little bit crazy right now. My life's messed up right now, but in 2 months, I promise I'm going to be a great girlfriend. It's like, nah.
Yeah.
If the present is the present, you can't rely on some future. If that's not what you are right now, then I have no evidence that it's going to be different in the future.
Well, just don't ignore these red flags.
Yeah.
But sometimes you gotta do some real investigation to see what's happening. Like last year, I had this dude in Britain, and he was offering a lot of different stuff, and he was like, he wanted to make this film, and he said he had Lionsgate, the distribution company. He said he had that on board, which for me would be like, whoa, that's insane. How the hell did has he got that? He also has a guy who I've worked with a lot on board as the lead actor at the time. So I was highly, contemplating leaving here just to go and do it.
Yeah, I remember that.
But the more investigation I did, oh my god, this guy, first of all, he didn't really want to listen to you, and he just wanted to phone up random times, and I hate that, man. I hate when people just randomly phone.
Yeah.
So, I talked more, cross-correlated the information with my good friend the actor, and eventually I just decided, screw this. I'm not gonna go to a whole other country just for one other person.
Yeah.
Which I know other people who have done that for relationships.
Yeah, exactly.
And the amount of stress that they've had has been off the scale.
Yeah.
So I don't want to do that for that or that. It has to be for the extreme.
Yeah. Well, it relates back to what we were talking about in the freelancing video, which I mentioned the word desperation quite a bit. And the more desperate you are for love or freelance work, the poorer decisions you'll make in general. And I think the people that fly to different countries to meet someone they barely even know, they're really desperate. They're really lonely.
Desperate.
Yeah. And, if you were going to kind of trust this guy based on almost nothing, that would show some desperation on your part. It shows you're trying to skip steps, because there's a natural progression to things in life. You don't go from talking to true love, and you don't go from meeting a client to making it big. So when you start to believe in those fairy tales, that shows that your desperation has brought you out of touch with reality a little bit.
Yeah. I guess the only real difference is when you start working for some big business that already exists, and I wonder how you could really compare that to someone in a relationship or something. I don't know. I don't know how you would compare that. Like, let's say you start working for Apple, right? Because you wanted to do some good ad campaign, and they need you to write it, right?
Yep.
And you do it.
Well, that would be like, I don't know how things work consistently in the West, but I've heard a lot about things where people sign contracts here. They barely even know their workplace, and they sign a 6-month or a 12-month contract, and if they break that contract, they have to pay a heavy fee.
Ooh.
And I don't know if it's the same, but like, let's say if I was signing that contract for Apple, it's almost like jumping into a marriage.
Yeah.
Without having a first date.
That's what it's like.
Yeah, it's because the contract brings all these sets of rules and expectations that you don't necessarily have in a freelance work or in a casual dating arrangement. So that seems really scary to me, and I would be extremely hesitant to do anything like that.
Yeah, well, I've not really done that before. I've never really wanted to jump in that far into some big business thing.
Yeah.
And also the thought of marriage.
Yeah.
Both of those things doesn't seem that good for my freedom. So
yeah,
I reckon I'll keep that off the cards at the moment.
Well, there is a trade-off that we could talk about too, in terms of there's almost a dichotomy between freedom and security. and you and I are both the same right now. We prefer freedom. But people get to different stages in their lives, and you know, I've kind of oscillated between the two myself. But sometimes you want security, and you know, freelancing, for example, you have a ton of freedom, but you're not really sure if you're gonna have a good paycheck in the next 3 months.
Nope.
You're not positive. You know, you can do certain things. You can work harder and everything. You can make it more secure, but you're not as secure as if you sign a 12-month contract. And that's also a part of the reason why people want marriage. They're like, I'm sick of meeting different people and having them blow me off, them ghost me. I want something stable, and I know a lot of people like that. They want something stable, and it's really hard to blame them.
A lot of people want something stable before they've even done a lot of stuff, before they've even worked a lot of places, and all of a sudden now they're working at a shit place, working so many hours, hardly getting anything from it, and that's another hard part, where it's like, once you commit to something and you don't like it, or the business or the person starts changing their own personality or rules, that's just what I would just hate, you know. Or if something happened in your life and you just felt like, I want to do something else, you can't.
Yeah. Well, that's a huge danger, and there's some conflicting stuff, because I've actually read that arranged marriages seem to work out fairly well compared to marriages that are based on choice. But I have one example. I know a girl who, you know, she's a virgin until marriage, and that's what she decided. And she's extremely religious. She just wants marriage, and she's not really willing to wait. So she met a guy, and he seemed good enough at first, so she kind of jumped into it. But he quickly turned not good enough. It turned out that he had some drinking problems. He was a bit abusive. And that's just something that, it takes time to learn that about someone.
Yeah.
You know, let's say that's me, right? If I have a drinking problem and I get abusive when I'm drunk, I can hide that for a long time. I just won't get drunk with the girl, or, you know, who knows. But that's what I'm saying, is like, it takes time for those things to come out, and that's why personally I would not jump into a serious contract or a committed relationship without some basis of experience and familiarity.
Yeah. Which, I mean, sounds pretty straightforward, doesn't it?
It does.
But then, I don't know, it just seems like many people want to ignore so many obvious signs.
Yeah.
Especially when you're getting like new people going into work, you know. Especially plenty of people around here have been working in places where, like, they haven't even got the contract yet, but they've been doing all sorts of stuff, and they don't even know if they'll be paid yet. And they've been working there for like 2 months or something, right? And especially with this bloody corona, a lot of people getting this half salary. Oh man. So basically, it's like, if you don't date, because that's I'm getting to the point now where I think it is really a good idea just to date around, just to see how do you feel with this person and this person, because you start to build up confidence, just like building up your own portfolio, doing some work for free kind of stuff. If you don't really have too much skills in that field, just do some stuff for free at the start, right? Just build up, get some more confidence, know what you're talking about. Don't let people start saying, we do it like this and this and this, and you can't really say anything about it. That's stupid.
Yeah.
And goddamn.
Well, you and I both agree on that method, and it seems logical. But the reason that I don't blame people for going the other route is because there's another dichotomy of logic versus emotions.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, I've had similar situations, even very recently, where my emotions will override my logic. You know, you meet someone, for example, it could be a client or a dating interest, and it just feels so good.
Yeah.
It just feels so good in that moment.
Right then.
Yeah, that your emotions totally override your logic, and it's so subtle too, because the human brain is incredibly powerful with rationalizations, especially.
Yeah.
And you're like, let's say we've got all these pros and cons right now, and we're being very logical right now, But if your emotions shift heavily, all of a sudden these pros seem so small and the cons seem so big. Everything shifts a little bit.
Yeah.
It's like, well, no, I like her better. This client, I trust him. And you start thinking differently. And that's what happens to people, especially when they don't have a lot of experience. Their emotions seem like, oh, I love him so much. Like, of course he's the one.
Yeah.
And they believe all these things that maybe they shouldn't, but it's hard to blame them because emotions are so powerful.
Yeah. And it's like, what is that? Why would that start happening so hard? That's what I'm interested in.
I think it goes back to the desperation again too, because personally for me, when it's happened, especially with dating, it's usually when I'm in a lower point and a girl comes along and she makes me feel really connected, and I just go, oh, screw all the others. This one gets me. But it's
She gets the rose.
Yeah, but it's only been 2 dates, and like I don't even know if she's actually going to text me back next week.
Nope.
So, but
Just get rid of all your clients. Like,
Yeah.
I don't need any of this anymore.
Exactly, yeah.
I'm done. I got this new contract.
yeah, and it's so easy to be with someone like a client or a girl, and you guys both, you're not making promises exactly, but you say things like, well, I like you, I want to continue this. And they're not promises, but they're intentions that get expressed. But again, it's in that moment because you're feeling those emotions in that moment. But when you text them the next day, they're in a different emotion.
Yeah.
Who knows for what reason? Maybe they lost a loved one, maybe they met another guy, who knows? But it's not, you can't count on that emotion carrying over to the next day, and that's why it gets really dangerous.
Well, yeah, and also with flipping freelance work, it also becomes that where I've been in many situations where that client feels like something should change about the product. They feel like it's not right, but that it can't be like that, man.
Yep.
They can't just change whatever because they don't understand how long it's gonna take me to change these things.
Yeah.
And that's why you have stuff set up more like a business, and it is a business, but a lot of this freelance stuff where it's like the consequences of them changing stuff or the consequences of you leaving, they seem a lot lower.
Yeah.
Because you aren't part of some big business stuff.
Yeah.
And awful stuff starts happening, especially when people are trying to get their money.
Yeah. Well, actually, bringing it back to what I was talking about too, because that's an example of their emotions overriding their short-term thinking.
Yeah.
That's the way they feel.
And long-term thinking.
Yeah,
too.
yeah. But I've done the same thing with clients too, where we're on the phone, and it's probably the first or second time I've talked to them, and they go, "Man, you get my vision. We're gonna work together. We're gonna do lots of great things together." But it's the same as being on a first date with a great girl. They mean it when they say it, but they just don't understand how they're going to feel the next day.
Or rather, they feel it when they say it.
They feel it when they say it.
They feel it when
yes,
they say
yeah,
it.
yeah. So it's not a lie. It just becomes a lie when it doesn't actually happen. And then you feel hurt because you put your feelings and your emotions into this person. But it's also kind of your fault because you weren't really seeing the big picture. You weren't being careful.
I also feel bad when it's like, let's say a client is like, yeah, man, we're going to do so many great things.
Yeah.
You're going to be my guy.
Yeah, I've had that so many times.
And I feel bad when I'm like, well, we'll see.
Right.
You're just keeping it chill.
Yeah.
Which you gotta be like that, man. Because I've had that quite a few times, even lately now, and there is no more stuff. There is no more stuff because I don't want no more stuff.
Yeah.
Because it hasn't worked out.
Yeah.
So I don't feel that bad just being like, well, we'll see.
Yeah. And actually, that's kind of what happens in both dating and freelancing. You get older, you get more experience, you've been around the block a few times, and you start to get a little bit, I don't know if jaded is the right word.
Well, streetwise especially.
Streetwise, yeah. And it's just like, people say those types of things, and that's exactly it. You're like, we'll see. You're no longer as vulnerable to getting caught up in the whirlwind of emotions. You kind of have a, not a detached, but like a distanced perspective.
Well, a higher view, definitely.
A bird's eye view compared to they're in it in that moment. And you're just like, well, I understand how you feel right now. And actually, maybe I even hope that it works out like you think it will. But I know
Sometimes
it probably won't.
I get sucked
but
into
I know
that,
it probably won't because I've been through this more times than you have.
Yeah.
Or whatever it is.
And sometimes people will like, you'll be happy about they've done something and it won't understand why you're so happy about some particular thing, because you recognize, oh, okay, this behavior is actually a good behavior here, and they're just trying to be a good person or something, right? But you're like, that's actually a really good thing, and you're seeing stuff that other people might not see, you know? It's not all about what people say, but how they act. You see that, and you're like, I like that. They were treating that person good. They might not meet him again. It wasn't even part of me. I like to spend more time with that person because they've treated that other person well.
Yeah.
They didn't need to, but they did it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Just like when, where you've got people working for other people, and sometimes they just take the time to really just think, the person that's working for them, what are they experiencing? Is this actually going to mess up their life by just saying, oh, I want it like this, let's do it like this, right? Screw that, man. Especially, you know, if people don't reply for a long time with dating and clients, that just becomes the worst. Or you're doing all the work, and then right at the end, as soon as you've finished, it's like, I want to change this bit. You could have told me that 2 days ago.
Yeah, well, that's another thing that comes with more experience, and that's why I think having experience with different clients and having the experience with different dating partners is really essential, because you start to find out what's important to you.
Yeah.
And for me, it could be the hottest girl in the world, and we could have a great time together every time we're together, but if she won't text me back for 6 days and she breaks plans, that's not my girl.
No.
You got to understand what's really important to you, and it takes some time to figure that out.
That's someone else's girl.
Yeah. Well, quite literally most of the time. But there's a lot of people that haven't really had that experience, and they get caught up in the whirlwind of emotions, and actually that type of behavior makes them fall harder.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, he hasn't texted me back, but he's so perfect. It's like, shut up. Well, I don't know. Different criteria for different people. But for me personally, I know that like responsiveness and politeness, manners, courtesy, those are one of the top things for me.
So simple.
It's so simple.
It's common knowledge, or it should be, but it ain't.
It ain't. Yeah, and like you said, that carries over for freelancing clients too. And that's one of the first signs that it's not going to work out.
And also, just the common knowledge thing of money. Let's talk about it. Let's not be awkward about it.
Yeah.
If that becomes a problem of just discussing it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Honestly, I mean, I just thought of this off the top of my head, but it could be kind of like sex.
It's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, it's like a girl, and you meet her, and actually, you know what? Yeah, money is a natural consequence of freelancing, and sex is a natural consequence of dating.
Right.
But some clients and some girls don't want to discuss the elephant in the room, and they just pretend it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
It's like, no, we're going to have all these great interactions, but you're not going to get paid, and you're not going to get laid. It's like, well, what are we doing here? I need to get paid. I need to get laid.
Man. It's like you have nothing else to offer except this money.
Yeah.
Okay? Give me the money.
Yeah.
We're going to get some money. Yeah, man.
Yeah, that's funny. That's a good parallel.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and that would be an example of whoever you're dealing with dangling a carrot in front of your nose and not even acknowledging that the carrot exists. Like, the girl knows that you want to do that, and the client knows you want to get paid, but they want you to prove yourself in all these ways before it even comes to the surface. And it's like, well, that's not natural. This is about something.
Right.
Maybe it's not necessarily all about money. Maybe I want exposure and experience too. Maybe it's not all about sex. Maybe I want connection too.
Yeah.
But that has to come into the equation.
Yeah.
And if you're pretending that it doesn't exist, then you're ignoring reality.
Or if they're like, yeah, I want something, I want a particular type of intimacy.
Yep.
They'll be talking about it with you.
Yep.
And when it comes down to it,
Yep.
nothing happens.
Yeah.
No, or nothing happens in the way that you really thought was going to happen.
Right.
Where is the money? You promised it. You said it was going to happen. You said there was going to be some installments.
Yeah.
And it didn't fucking happen.
It didn't happen.
Okay? Or you just bullshit me. You just give me like $10 here, or you just pay for this, and you're like, hey, we're good now, right?
Yeah.
For a little while. No, we're not good.
Yeah, we're not good.
Give me the goddamn $6.
Yeah. And you
offered it.
You wouldn't be surprised if a client like that, like let's say you got pissed off at a client, you said, hey, you haven't paid me. And they said, well, this is all about money for you. And it's like, It's not all about money, but money is required.
Money is the part. Money is the. We already discussed money.
Yeah.
Okay, if you're meeting someone, you know, if we're being real here, if you meet someone and, you know, you're just going on a date, obviously, sex isn't a fucking mandatory thing.
Not mandatory.
But if you start talking about it,
Yep.
can you believe it when people actually will say like, yeah, I like this and I like this and maybe we could do this later or some shit, right? God damn. What do you think's why are you surprised when we're pissed off? Huh?
You shouldn't be.
Shouldn't be. So yeah, I guess we know what's going on. Just keep your brain in there.
Keep the brain in there, yeah, and don't trust someone too much when you don't know them, and don't get caught up in the whirlwind too hard when you know you shouldn't. It's harder said than done, and I get caught up in that whirlwind fairly often.
Yeah, don't get what do you call it? Stargaze, don't get like stars in your eyes from if someone is even a little bit famous or something.
Yeah.
Don't just start like doing whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's our thoughts on that today.
Yep.
And good man. Fuck man. Give me that goddamn money.
I agree.